All right, welcome to another episode of Panakal Podcast for Geeks, the show about good friends hanging out, talking about all the things we love. Our guest today is Shawn E. Russell. She is below on my screen. I don't know where she is on yours. And you know my co-host Andrew Sides. Welcome to the show, Shawn. Thanks for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to hang out
You've been doing
and
a
chat.
couple of these now, right? How many have you done now?
Yeah,
You got done more than two.
um, video wise with other artists,
Hmm.
like in our sphere of like convention artist type thing. This is just my second one.
Okay.
First one was with Lauren and all them
Yeah,
on
Lauren's actually
Painted
been
and
on the show
Colored.
before.
Oh,
She was
nice.
on we did a
She's so
D&D
awesome.
episode. So
Yeah, I did do one with like a local radio station in Indiana, and they were somehow affiliated with NPR, so I can be
oh,
like,
that's cool.
I was on NPR, but I don't think it ever aired
This is just my
like
second
on
one.
NPR. It's just
Okay.
on their
First one
website
was with
in like a little
Lauren.
corner.
They were interviewing you about the Kickstarter, or was that a separate thing entirely?
Oh, that was I think a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. They saw
Okay.
me at a local art festival and they
Okay.
interviewed me about my work and all that.
That's still
Oh,
cool,
nice.
man. I mean, no one's
Yeah, that's
interviewing me
awesome.
for stuff. So,
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. It was like just a local art show, but they were more in like the fine art sphere
okay.
than like the fantasy sci-fi sphere.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you kind of do a little bit of that sort of stuff too, I would say.
Yeah, I think there's a crossover there.
So I went to check your
Like,
Kickstarter. I'm sorry, Andrew, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, the little bit I've dabbled with, like, galleries that are outside of the traditional, like, fantasy sci-fi kind of things. It is astounding how little crossover I've seen between the two. Like, I have a friend that he's mainly a gallery painter at this point, and primarily not within like the fantasy sci-fi, even though that was his bread and butter for years, doing comics and book covers and all that. Like he did. If either you ever read the old Rogue Squadron novels, like he did
I mean,
the
I've
Mm,
book
seen them.
cover
I
art
never
for a
read
lot
them.
of those. Yeah, he did the book cover art for a lot of those.
that's
But yeah, no,
cool.
he was telling me he was talking to local galleries in our area in Florida, and his litmus test for a lot of those are like whether or not they even heard of like Frank Frazetta. And if they haven't, which apparently
Mm,
is a staggeringly high number of them have not, he's kind of
mm,
like, we're not gonna be able to work then because
Right.
my work is not that his work is anything like Frazetta's in terms of subject matter and all that, but I guess it's like him just trying to gauge like how much do they know of things outside of just like the local art scene and all that.
Sure.
mhm.
And he's like, it's shockingly small, at least around here.
I mean, it's Florida. No offense.
No, this is true.
Um, so I was going to talk about our Kickstarter for a minute here. I see you funded already, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
I mean, it's
thank
an
you.
apparel. I feel like apparel is one of the toughest things to fund on Kickstarter. I feel like so whenever I see one of my friends actually get it off the ground, it's pretty amazing. So yeah, I see that 6 days, not bad, and you're way over your goal, which is good too. And you got 12 days to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Honestly, I didn't think it was gonna fund at all. So this is
Why?
a huge. I don't
I
know. I
mean,
don't have a
aside
huge
from my apparel
following,
comment,
so.
I think the artwork's amazing. So I can't see why it
Well,
wouldn't.
thank you.
Do you want to
Thank
tell
you.
us
I
a
mean,
little bit about it?
sure. So it's based off of my Chinese zodiac series that I've started. I so far have 4 animal illustrations finished, like the tiger, the snake, the bull, and the rabbit. This year's the rabbit, which is why the Kickstarter is kind of centered around You're the Rabbit on the t-shirts, and then You're the Snake on the sweaters. Um, the series has been like a huge hit at conventions, and I've had a number of people asking about apparel, and I've always wanted to do apparel because all of the my primary purchase at conventions for myself is, tees and sweaters now,
Okay.
since there's no room on the walls for prints anymore.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So clothing, you're just
And
like,
you
I'm just
just
gonna
look
move to the
cool.
next thing, which is clothing.
Yeah.
I
I
got
don't
you.
know. I've always been interested in doing that because clothing is such a fun way to express yourself when you're out and about, and
Yeah.
I love I like doing drive-by
Excuse me.
compliments. Like, I'll shout at people across the road, "I like your shirt," and stuff like that when I see something cool. I don't know. It's a nice way to
She's
brighten
never done that
someone's
to me,
day.
guys. Just so you know.
Well,
It is a
I'm never
weird.
Intriguing.
across the street from you. I mostly do it to other girls.
That's fair.
uh,
It is
I don't.
it is weird. So my day job is I actually do design work for apparel and all that. Um,
Ooh.
and it is weird when you see someone wearing your shirt.
Mm.
Then like my father-in-law, I went over to their house after they got back from like a trip overseas or whatever, and we opened up the door and he's wearing like the t-shirt of one of my coworkers that designed it. And it's not like I ever told him what it was. He just saw it at Hard Rock and he was like, "Oh, I like this shirt. I'm gonna get it." And it's like,
That's
"Oh,
nuts.
that's weird."
It's kind of
It
cool
must be
though.
cool though, seeing it in the wild though. Like, it's like
What
the book cover artist posting a photo of their book cover at an airport.
like the best story I've ever heard is one of my old coworkers who no longer he works with another company now. But he told me early on that he saw one of his teas on an episode of Cops, and that
Mm.
was the really surreal moment for him because he was like, "It's strange seeing it on TV, and then
Like, was the
also
guy
in
getting
this
arrested?
situation." Yes.
Oh no! It's the brand of a
That's not how
criminal
you want your
now.
apparel to be represented, I think. But I mean,
It
even
was
what
well,
do they say? Even
like
bad publicity is good publicity. So
we do like theme park apparel and stuff at my day job, so it's not like tied to us or anything. But it is weird when
oh
he was
yeah,
like,
sure.
"Yeah, like I saw my design, it's like a Disney shirt or whatever." But he's like, "It's still weird seeing it in that context."
I did a short run of T-shirts back in the day, and every once in a while, I'll see them at a show, and it's usually fans who are like, "Hey, check it out! I still have the shirt." And
Oh, it's
I've been thinking
awesome.
about doing more apparel because like I see all my friends doing it now, right? And I'm still like
Hmm.
I'm
So
still
I
like in the design phase, I guess.
so one question I have then, because like I always know it from the background of like much larger orders, like anything. I think the lowest order we usually tend to do is like 150, and when we do that kind of order, it's usually as like a favor to a client because like maybe someone on their side is like, "Hey, we have a softball team or a fun run thing. Can you help us out with this short order of teas?" And then in the end, that nets us like a $20,000 order or a 20,000 shirt order down the road because like
Oh
we're good,
wow,
Mm.
we're
okay.
team players in that regard.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I always wonder, like, where do you guys? This is like a question, I guess, for both of you and Sean. I would love to hear your perspective on this, considering you're doing the Kickstarter right now. Like, where do you guys like? What do you guys sources? Is it like Gildan or Bella Canvas or anything like that, or do you guys even know who the supplier is for the blanks? And then, do you do domestic screen printing, or is it over the seas? I always figure with overseas, it needs to be a certain amount of volume to be able to actually do it.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I was working with a local screen printer, and I got samples from them that I brought with me to C2E2 to show off to kind of promote the Kickstarter because it launched on the same day. Though the order was not what I was expecting, so they actually didn't get me the rabbit at all, and which was supposed to be on the tee, and then the snake on the sweater was kind of messed up. They changed the design without letting me know, so I'm
Oh
looking
no.
into
Dang.
other
Okay.
manufacturer or other printers. I don't know. I'm not sure whether or not to try and give them another chance because they're local and it would be
I
easier
mean,
to not do
it's
shipping,
nice
but
to
they
support a
also didn't
local,
seem like they cared. So,
right? I
Yeah.
I always
so I've
want to
been
support a
talking
local, but
with some other
sometimes
people.
in the case of something like this stuff's expensive, right? So it's
Mhm.
like I feel like you almost want to go overseas if you want to save some money.
Or
Yeah.
even just like we've tried to do. There's certain places that we have tried to work with in the past, and even like we even had it with overseas or something where they say one thing and then deliver something totally different. Like
Right.
Mhm.
we had one factory that adamant, mind you, that we had to deliver all art as a as a vector file, AI file or EPS or whatever.
Mhm.
And that's not the case at all. Like we've sent loads of things as Photoshop files or some kind of raster image. Like I'm sure you guys did as well for like your stuff when you've done apparel.
So I
But
tried
yeah.
and then didn't work out. I had to make a vector file for
Oh
them.
Oh,
really?
really?
Yeah,
So
I spent a whole
that is
weekend redoing the file in Illustrator because they just like image traced it and all the details were lost. And I was like, can we do something about the like, all these lines turning into weird squiggles? And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
no, this is the best we can do. So,
Hmm.
we get yeah, like we've gotten pushback on that once or twice. It's usually kind of like if you prod them enough, they can they'll figure out a way. But there we have had also like factories which are just like out and out like they talk to us. They're like, no, it has to be vector. And it's like, dude, no. Like we've worked with like 7 or 8
It's
different
probably like the
factories
only way
that
they
can do
know
that
how to do
otherwise.
it, you know?
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's like
mhm,
they know how to do it way, and a good screen printing factory will have a separator on staff that can do that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Some places don't though, and they'll contract it, or they have someone that's like, oh, they know what separating is,
mhm,
and as much as like they looked up a YouTube video to see how it's done, where it's like you can do it in Photoshop. It's very possible in Photoshop. Maybe need to take like a few extra steps or whatever, but
Right.
it is possible. Yeah. Now
So like,
that sucks though that you had to recreate it in vector for your like. I'm assuming
yeah,
for like your monochrome work and everything, right?
well, this
yeah. I
stuff's
mean,
in color.
I had a like a digital ink or like screen print design that was more like vector friendly.
Mm.
Um, but and it was in like a great, high DPI type Photoshop layer isolated layers that I sent them. It's like the snake is just a very detailed image, and the
Mhm.
image face didn't like it. So I spent um, like 3 or 4 days over the weekend, just tweaking everything so it lined up right. Because
Uh,
they wouldn't do more, which
That's
is fine.
frustrating.
Like, I mean, I was
it
asking for
is what it
samples,
is.
so I don't blame them for not wanting to invest all that much time in it. But I mean,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I get it. If you're
it's,
asking for samples, they don't want to do the. They're like, give us the file, we'll give you a sample. I get that. Um,
hmm
I don't know what the solution is there, but I could see your
yeah,
on the Kickstarter. You can see how you took the went from illustration to screen print. It looks okay. It didn't. I can see like you didn't want to lose some of that gold details or something. I assume, right?
mm, yeah. I just wanted the chrysanthemums to look like
Yeah,
chrysanthemums.
Yeah.
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 So I
I was gonna
see you
say
also
like,
have.
did they? Oh,
Go
go on,
ahead. Go
Alan.
ahead, Andrew. You're fine.
Okay, I was gonna say, did they offer anything like Actually, I don't know if they can be done domestically or not. Do they offer anything like a foil ink or anything like that, or metallic inks to
That's
replicate
not.
the
Hmm.
That would be
gold?
expensive for apparel.
I'm not sure. I didn't ask about it. They didn't say anything, but I don't think they're like familiar with my work or anything. Because I just gave them like flat color files rather
Gotcha.
than showing them the pencil work. Um, I did buy some apparel from another artist who had kind of like a gold
Yeah.
shininess to their stuff. I just worry that that is more like vinyl
Yeah, it's
maybe it
gonna
would
be like
work.
a different
It
material
Um,
for sure.
like it'll be
well,
shrinkier.
it depends. There's two ways to do it. If you have like if you have a large area, like say it's like a high impact font that's like your logo, say something like ATV or whatever, and the 18V are all gold, and maybe the letters, like each of the bands of the letter are like this wide or whatever. Foil is probably a better use in that instance, because basically the way it's applied is like a giant sheet down and then it's cut out stencil wise, right?
Mhm.
For something like say your snake or the chrysanthemums in that, you would actually do metallic ink, and basically it's same as like the rest of the screen print ink. It's just it has a metallic luster to it, kind of like
Mhm.
the same way you have like metallic paint that has that same kind of effect. It's the same kind of idea, and that's used for more like finer details, that kind of thing, or anything that doesn't have like massive coverage of like a thick even coverage kind of deal.
Mhm.
But it also kind of depends, like not every factory is geared for that or whatever, or it may even be like a minimum thing. As far as I know, I'm not really entirely sure,
Do you
but that's
guys,
an
is
option.
your company doing all stuff within a domestic, or is it all, it's got to be
No,
overseas?
so we do mostly, it depends. Clients like, like say Disney or Hard Rock or Universal, they are overseas because their minimums are, like 20,000 shirts
Right.
or 25, it's thousands in terms of like their minimum order. And then they will sometimes ask for certain things that are hard to replicate domestically. Like just there's a lot of domestic printers that are not set up for those kind of things. Uh, and while overseas they are set up for that kind of deal. We do use domestic though if we need a smaller order or if the timeline is shorter. Like, because if it's
Sure.
overseas, it's like if you order in say March, that's for an August or September delivery at the earliest, because it's not traveling by air, it's traveling by boat.
By crate. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
got you.
Mhm.
I mean,
So if someone comes to us and says like, hey, like we are ordering this in April, but we need it for a July delivery or June delivery, then it's like, ooh, okay, that might be domestic then, just because there's also things like approvals
right.
and
Mhm.
sourcing the blanks and yada yada.
I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, you still have time to find another printer. That's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Because you still got 12 days left. I mean, even then, I'd be like,
Mhm.
I, and I would talk to some of our friends in our circle of friends. They all got connections. So, but
Yeah.
so I
Yeah,
had a
I did
question.
ask around.
Oh, you did? Okay, good. I mean, because
Mhm.
I asked, I'm not gonna name names right now, but I asked some of our friends for who I should use for, and I got a list of people to look into for, because I just want to make t-shirts and
Hmm.
maybe a hat, a snapback, because I like snapbacks, but it's got to be perfect because I'm a
Right.
stickler. So, but I did have a question about, so like for the Zodiac series, I don't know a crap ton about Zodiac stuff, but are you going like, so this is the year this is actually Year of the Rabbit, or is it like, are you just, it is okay?
This is the year of the rabbit. Yeah.
And then last year was
Mhm.
the
Okay.
snake.
Last year was a tiger,
Okay,
and
so I see you have a
So is
tiger, a snake, a
I
rabbit.
think
next
it was
year the
the
snake?
snake, and then the bull was previously. Next year is the dragon.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, cool.
So the first one was the bull, and that was I think during lockdown, and I put it on Everyday Original.
Mm.
One of my friends who plays a lot of Magic, he bought the original, and he's like, I want you to make the rest. So he commissioned the rest.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
That's
and
awesome.
yeah, he's a really good friend of ours. So I gave him a good discount, and he's like, yeah, just take your time. If you have other things, do those first. I don't
Okay.
think he realized how long I would be taking on all the rest of them, but um,
I mean,
yeah,
patience and time. Oh yeah, maybe he didn't. I don't think he expected you to cook out. How many are there? 12.
there's 12. Yeah,
Okay.
so I've still got quite a few of them to go. But I mean, they've had a great reception at conventions, and it's been really cool to work on some Asian stuff again because I'm half Chinese, so
Hmm.
it's like
Yeah,
all
it's good to
the
lean into a little
childhood
bit of,
memories.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. So the snake was kind of just the one that I wanted to do next because I love drawing snakes. I like a lot of snaky shapes. Same with like
Sure.
octopi, things
That's
that like
fair.
have no skeletal structure basically, and you can do whatever you want with them and they still look believable.
I was
Um,
gonna. So I like the idea of the zodiac stuff, but I actually the first time I saw your work was the stuff you have with like, um, um, I think it's like a wolf with like mushrooms coming out of its back. Like
mm-hmm.
I
Oh
love
yeah,
that.
that's a
Yeah.
great piece.
So like
Oh,
that
thank
seems
you.
like it was its own. What was it called? Imaginative realism. Is that what you
Mm-hmm.
called it, right?
Yeah.
So like you
Yeah.
had a lot of things like that in that series where you had like these animals and then you had these plants growing out of them. So I was
Mm-hmm.
curious to know like what kind of brought that about.
Mm. Well, I'm a huge nature nerd. I mean,
Okay.
basically all I draw is animals.
I
I
figured that
think,
out.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I'm super interested in kind of like the cycles of life, growth and decay. Mushrooms are kind of nature's recyclers. They're also this like non-sentient, mobile, helpless organism that is still somehow able to kind of like colonize the whole surface of the earth with its like mycelial networks. And um, I thought it would be cool to put like a top predator. Like it started with the heron and the mushrooms. Then there's also an atlas moth, which kind of references the initial type of fungus that inspired the series, which is like the zombie ant fungus that's in the
Hmm.
Mm.
Amazon. I guess The
The
Last of Us.
cordyceps.
Yeah, I guess The Last of Us is also inspired by that mushroom. I've never seen it or played
Mhm.
it, but a bunch of people came up at the last con and were like, "Is this The Last of Us?" And they explained the plot to me.
Yeah. That
Um,
that would get on my nerves after a while, but I've accepted it now.
yeah, I mostly it was inspired by kind of looking like there's a lot of inequality between people groups, and I wanted to make a piece that was like, let's take this oppressive force, like a fox that's at the top of the food chain. Let's symbiotically have it be colonized by these mushrooms, have them be in harmony, but still like, functioning and living together. So I don't know. It's kind of like my therapy for dealing with people
Sure.
being unkind to each other, I guess.
No, as that
Yeah.
and that's a great way to explain what you're doing there, because I hope you tell people that at the shows, right? I think it'd
I
be very
do if
interesting.
people ask. Yeah,
Okay.
it's kind of a long explanation,
Sure.
because not everybody knows about, like,
Mushrooms.
mushrooms and
Yeah.
how they
Andrew
recycle
does.
all the dead matter into, like, usable material
Right.
for other creatures and whatnot, so I don't know, I haven't figured out how to pare it down into, like, an
I would
elevator
just
pitch, so
you know, if you want my suggestion, back in the day I used to put just a small blurb on the back of each of my prints. Which
Mhm.
I would be like I purposefully made small index cards to put on the back of each print that had a short version of a bigger story that's in the book, and it
Mm.
wasn't the one in one. So like if you read what's on the back of the card, it was totally different. I mean, it was the same story, but it was worded It was worded so I can explain it faster, essentially.
Mhm.
So I mean, you could just post what you just said was like very interesting. You could just make a if you got what you call it, like a Rolo label printer, you can just type something
Mm.
up in Photoshop and just print labels on those, and then you just stick those to the back of
Hmm.
your bag and
Yeah.
boarded prints. Like you don't even have to
I
like.
don't have one, but
It depends on how
that
fancy you want to get
sounds
with it, right? And
yeah.
I basically made just a very fine line border, nothing wild, and then I just put text inside so it fits on that label. And then I have a Rolo printer, and I just
Hmm.
ran the prints, and it's like stickers on the
Nice.
back. Yeah,
Hmm.
I know. It's a good idea. Feel free to take
Hmm.
it.
Good ideas. Yes. I mean, Anytime I don't have to talk as much is
Well, you
great
still have
at
to talk to
cons
be
because
like, if you want to learn more about this print, just turn it. You hand it to them, right? You say, hey, you want to learn a little bit more
hmm
about this print? Turn it around. So I put a brief explanation on what inspired me. So in my case, I'd be like, if you
hmm
want to know more about this illustration, this characters from my series, if you want to learn more about the scene or the character, turn it around. And now, technically, you're partway to a sale because they're already holding the print. But if you don't look at it from a sales angle, you're looking at it like you're trying to inspire them to be like, what got me to this, right? I want you to know.
hmm
And what you just said about the world is kind of cool, right? You weren't just like, you're not like me where I'm just like, this is for a book I wrote. Most people don't give a fuck, like.
Yeah.
But if you're like, this is me trying to relate to how janky the world is, you kind of got my attention. Tell me more, right? Like,
hmm
like why, what, it's kind of cool. And then correlating it with mushrooms is plants in general. I guess I would never even think about that. Um, so that's cool.
Well, thanks. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I yeah, at cons, I like when people ask me what the work is about, I very often get tongue-tied. Um, just like getting over anxious and being like, okay, how do I explain this in a way that a non-artist will get it, who doesn't have any like nature-based knowledge. They don't do deep dives, you know, like we
Right.
do into the like meaning behind things and how do I explain it to a layperson. Also, I'm always behind this big wall of things, so I basically have to shout
Yeah.
and I'm never as loud as I think I am.
It's
And
gotten harder with those
I
masks on.
people just
So,
don't understand me. Yeah, that too. Yeah.
I
Usually
mean,
I just hand people a menu and then they look at all the prints that I have. I have too
that's
many I gotta
kind
put them
of,
down.
I'm
Do
finding
you
the menu
primarily
idea works.
only? Oh, sorry. Go on, Alan.
No, I was just saying, I'm finding the menu idea really helps because a lot of people don't want to like look around as much. They were like, I just want to stand here and whatever I can visually
Mhm.
see from this spot is what I'm interested in. But you're like, check it out, I have all this other stuff, and then you're like, and then they're a little more. Then you can engage a little bit
Mhm.
more and see if they want to
Yeah. Yeah, and
use
if
your card.
there's like
Yeah,
more than one group looking at your stuff at one time, people don't
exactly.
have to wait for the other person to move.
You can just give them a menu
And
and be like, I'll
also,
be with you in just a second,
mhm,
or feel free
yeah,
to ask
usually I'll just be
questions.
like, "Would you like to see a menu?" And I hand it to them, and then all the like redundant questions get answered by the menu, and then I
Right.
can save my voice for like
I mean,
conversations that are more interested in deeper questions.
I still blew out
Mm.
my voice after C2E2. It was
Oh my gosh.
it was
C2H2
bad.
was madness.
Yeah, it was so
All
loud in
my
there.
menus
Like just
disappeared.
um, yeah, just somebody just commented. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, Tani's saying I just started using menus as soon as people really like them. Yeah, I mean I find it because a lot of people don't want to. If you want to get to the psychology of this menus real quick, it's I feel like people don't want some. A lot of people are nervous at these shows and they don't want to really talk to you.
Mhm.
So if you give them a menu, it's like and you give them a name, and you better know the names of your prints because if they're like I want this, sometimes they just point at them. I'm like just tell me the name, man. I got these memorized. I made the pieces. Like
Yeah.
Mhm.
like you don't have to. They'll
Yeah.
be like the red one, or for me when they're like the pink one, I'm like, yo, you got to be more specific. Like I got a lot of pink in my art,
50% of these
so
have pink in them.
yeah. So it's like,
Yeah.
come on. And then what I've done also is I put the price on the back now, just to be like, and I tell them that too. I'm like, prices are on the back, and I just walk away and let them simmer in that for a minute because I find people are also nervous about asking for prices. I had a lot of people at C2E2 who are like, they'd ask me the cost, I'd tell them the cost, and they'd be like, "Oh, you've got it right there on the wall. I'm such an idiot." I'm just like, "No, man, it's cool. People just don't read signs." And
Mhm.
I don't want to be like you're an idiot, but it's just like I get it. There's when you're at a convention like C2E2 or even like Gen Con as a prime example, there's so much visual information coming your way
It's overwhelming.
missing a small
Mhm.
price sign. I'm not gonna fault you for that. I it
Mhm.
kind of if you're staring right at it and you're still asking me, then I'm like, come on, man, we're both looking at the same.
It's
Yeah,
right there.
yeah. But I also
Do
so
you
I
s-
wanted to also ask you. Go ahead, Andrew. You had a question.
I was gonna ask, like, do you sell any originals at conventions at all, Sean, or is it only prints and merchandise?
I do bring originals, yeah. Usually they're at a higher price point, so they're not as accessible to most con goers. But I
Do,
sold
I was gonna say, do
two
they?
originals at
Okay.
C2E2 at the last show. And I also bring hand embellished gold foil prints. So I'll take like my large size, which is a 12 by 18, and then I brush on, adhesive and then press foil on.
I
And
actually
those
got to
are
see you
those are
do
kind
that.
of like in an original category. What's that, Alan?
I was saying I actually got to see her work on one of those when we were at OhioCon together. Like you were up, and I was like, I'm going to bed. Like it was like 1 o'clock in the
Yeah.
morning, and you're still working on it. I was like, I'm really high and I need sleep. But it was really
hmm
interesting. I've never actually been able to actually see somebody do gold foil stuff like live, so it's kind of cool. Because in my head, I always want to kind of try that, but I don't know if I still want to touch any of that kind of stuff. I'm still not very. I'm still half and half on traditional stuff.
Yeah. It's a pain in the butt until you do the gold foil part. Because my adhesive, well, Tim Vonner, he does it where he adds like some pigment to like the adhesive that he
Mhm.
brushes on so you can see what he's doing. I haven't done that yet. Um,
That's
Oh,
not a
so he
bad
does because
idea.
but
it's
yeah,
kind
like
of like invisible.
it's invisible, so you have to have it at the right angle. Usually I'm kind of like craned over, my neck hurts, and it's, a
Does it
couple
just have like
hours of
food
doing
coloring
that
to it or
per piece.
something?
What?
Is he just adding food coloring to it or something?
I think he's adding ink, some
Oh,
kind of ink. His is like magenta right now. Last time I saw
Hmm.
him working on one.
okay.
I
It's
need
not a
to
bad
try
idea.
that too. Yeah,
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's not a bad idea at all.
Mm.
whoa, a lot of messages
Yeah.
just poured in.
It's a lot of fun to put the foil on and kind of watch it like go from nothing to shiny. That's
Yeah.
super satisfying. I love like recording that, and I'll even it's weird watching your own videos, but it's like that the gold part just makes it like really fun to watch.
I get it. I haven't really done any gold foiling with artwork at all, but I have done it like I've gilded picture frames and stuff. And it's like that
Mm,
same kind of feeling whenever you brush away all the excess foil to reveal like what you did. That is such a
mhm.
satisfying thing
Mm.
to have.
Yes. It feels like magic.
Yeah.
So there's a couple different methods. So like Tanya was saying, I have numbers next to her prints, and then they're organized by that number in her crate. And then Steven Scott was watching, said,
Mm,
names are the most important part of the menu. I'm trying a new system of having an image key system with names on one side, prices on the back, doing that rather than listing every option. I guess if you have a lot of work, that works. Like what's happening with my
mm,
menus right now is like
mhm,
I'm cranking out more work finally, and I'm running out of space on the menu. And I'm trying to avoid, I mean, I guess I could go to the back of the menu technically, um, but it's like you got to get them to flip it, right? Most people,
Yeah.
like,
mhm,
I was talking to Devin about this, and she actually has like an arrow like more on the back, or something. But you got to get
mhm.
people to actually
How
flip it.
often, out of curiosity, how often, I guess this is like for both of you guys, how often do you guys cycle out your artwork for a convention? Like,
I mean,
you
I
say like,
bring
this print's been around for like several years, time to retire it.
I haven't retired
Mhm,
anything. What I do is the prints that have been around for several years, I bring the least amount of. Because it's always a mixed bag. Like, it's always gonna be somebody who still wants that old print, and you're just like, I do
mhm.
have one. I only have five, or whatever. Um,
Yeah, I have a I think I brought like 30 different print varieties in two sizes to C2E2. And I have like a print menu side, and then like when I hand people a menu, would you like to see the menu? I've got prints on one side and then functional items on the other side. And I'll
hmm
have like my tote bags, my journals, my pins, and then I had like a little blurb about the Kickstarter for C2E2. And I print new menus for each show because I always add a print or I take something off.
Yep, I do the same thing.
Um, yeah, which I mean, it's worth it because
So,
then
do you have just a
it's,
sleeve like I do? Because I went to there's a guy at Dragon Con, and there's a guy he was at C2E2 with us. He sells these.
hmm.
He's just got a booth of portfolios and sleeves. And
Oh, they were my neighbor at
okay,
C2E2.
so you had the other. That's the one guy, but there's another dude that I've seen at Dragon Con. The dude at Dragon Con,
Oh,
apparently he's the only one that can get some specific sleeves, and he makes a killing. But I bought just 12 by 18 sleeves from him so that I could, whenever I make a new menu, I just pull it out, put a new one in, and don't
Mm.
think twice. But the one thing I did
Huh.
also pick up from him was a 13 by 19 portfolio book this year. Because we were talking earlier about how we're running out of wall space for art. So I just started putting everything into
Mhm.
portfolio books and turning them into coffee table books. And what is a bunch of messages? I don't know what's going on. These messages are pouring in randomly. But so Tani said, I feel like the originals are what sells my prints, which that does make sense because you have that perceived
Mhm.
value. Yep. Yeah. You leave the perceived value of everything else on the table to have something priced higher on the wall behind you. Yeah. It's that tier system, right? Like people see my $1,000
Mm.
prints and they're like, I can't buy that, but I can buy this $40 print. And you're like, cool. And it goes the other way. And
Mhm.
C2E2 had a bunch of
Mm.
people looking at the $1,000 prints, but nobody was buying them. They were like, I did have a couple. I had a woman and her wife both wanted two different ones, and I was like, buy
Mm.
both, which I thought would work. Sometimes it does, but $2,000 was way out of their budget, And
Mhm.
they took a minute. They walked away, and they were like, we'll be back. And I thought, well, that sale's not going to happen. And they came back, and we just can't come to an agreement. I was like, well, here's my card, and if you ever decide you want both, I can make you a deal. I'm not going to pressure you into spending $2,000 if you don't want to. Um, Whatever. I was like, I can ship anywhere in the U.S. So, but I was like, like I have that one thing I want to do at every show, and it's just move one of those pieces. And Comic Cons are just not where it's at. So, um, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Comic Cons are a little
Yeah,
harder.
yeah,
Um,
they're super hard. It's like I feel like everyone who asked me how the show went, I was like, I feel like I had to work extra hard for every sale I made at C2E2. And
hmm.
my expenses were lower because I'm local, but
Minus the
you and I both
boosting.
did OhioCon. We were right next to each other, and I felt like our sales were smoother at that show. And it was smaller than
Mm.
C2E2. It was tiny.
So I'm curious then, because like my experience is only with Comic Cons, just because the local one here, MegaCon, is really the only one I've done, and I've since stepped back
Mm.
from because I've had that. Like, I really don't move a whole lot of things, so it's hard for me to justify trying elsewhere or even scaling up for us. Like, what is OhioCon then catered to, and like how is that different from like
It's
a
an
Comic
anime
Con?
con.
Okay,
Anime Con.
So I think
Hmm.
that's why like our
Ohio Con's
stuff,
also a special show because it's original art only. They don't allow
right?
fan art.
No fan art.
So it's
really?
Yeah,
it's
Comic
like a
Cons you're
baby
competing with
Gen
all the
Con.
fan art basically.
Yeah, so people there come for the artist alley. Um,
Yeah.
but they're not like huge spenders generally since I don't know, anime cons are also kind of like sometimes harder to sell things. It depends on the
Yeah, I mean, you're
crowd.
at
Like
ASIN
there
with me, right?
what's
You're at Anime Central with me here.
yeah, I did Anime Central.
Are you doing
Yeah.
it this year?
It was I am. Yeah.
So I feel like
Yeah,
that's
that
kind
one's a
of
really good show.
it's good, but I feel like I had to do it a couple times before people got like they have to recognize you, right? It's like doing Dragon Con or Gen
Mhm.
Con. Like the first time there, people are like, "This guy's new" or "This girl's new. I don't know if I like this or not." And then if they do buy something from you, they'll
Mhm.
come back again to see what you have that's different every year. And at Gen Con
Mhm.
now, I do really well, but it's from like 6 years, 5, 6 years of just hustling, right? Getting my name out there, putting the stuff up.
Mhm.
I feel like that's the same way I feel about
Yeah.
anime cons. ASIN, OhioCon has potential to be that. C2E2 for some reason. I had people stop by who love the work. They were like, I helped kickstart the book. And I'm just like, want to buy a print? Like,
Hmm?
I'd like to eat dinner later, but it just feels like Comic Con's always, even like I do San Diego Comic Con, right? One of the biggest Comic Cons. And even at that show, I feel like I'm like, it's like a struggle to just get them to buy something because they have
Mm.
when they're at a Comic Con, they want something specific like Batman, Spider Man. They have their fan
Mhm.
base thing, and then they're like, and then there's you and me over here with like, you know, things they've never seen or heard of.
Mhm.
Right.
So you have to convince them why that's a good thing. Um, I don't know. Like I think we all did fine at C2E2 though. It sounds like it went great for everybody. Even though we were struggling
Mhm.
through it. So. Anime Central, I think we'll do fine. I've said this before. I do feel like this year is a year where we're all gonna make a little less than we did last year because I feel like people are being a little more conservative with their
That
spending.
I was gonna say that pandemic
Yeah,
crest has stopped, and now the inflation
it'll
and all that
go
is
it'll
setting
go
in.
back up. It's just gonna you got to get through this year where people are less, there's I'm not gonna talk about the world, but there's situations happening where people are panicking about what to do. So based on that, the
Right.
next year I think we'll be fine. Based on that, so I'm just gonna keep doing my thing. So to get this back on track here to Shawn, I want to talk about your gallery because you have a gallery in Indiana, but you you made it sound like you're gonna shut it down, or you
Yeah,
are gonna shut it down. I like the idea you said
so
of making it a tattoo slash gallery.
I would love to hear the history of it. Like, how'd you come to that decision? Like, how'd you guys come into possessing that?
well, it was like a vacant storefront in like downtown Terre Haute. It's in a great spot. It's like right by this new convention center, by Hilton, and by the Swope Art Museum, and a really nice coffee shop that opened up just after we got the space.
Oh, cool.
Um, it's like right now, it's just my work in there, and I will go in when I have time to work on my stuff. It's kind of functioning right now as like a storage for all the artwork and like convention supplies because there's a basement area. Um, I did a few classes there, like with like intro level art classes. Um, I got a lot of anxiety doing it,
Sure.
and I'm not sure if I enjoy it totally. I think probably just because my kids are young and I feel the stress of, right, my husband has to take over with the kids and I'm
Mhm.
not going to be there as backup. Um, and we've had some financial struggles lately just
Mhm.
because my husband had spinal surgery. He's doing a lot better. But I mean, he took like 5 to 6 months of not working. So
Mhm.
money's just a little tighter right now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Um, and the rent just feels larger than before,
Have
you
they
know.
have they raised it at all or anything, or has it stayed mostly?
Thankfully, no. Yeah, thankfully it's the
That's
same as
good at
when
least.
we initially got it. I think the community likes having it there, though I don't get a ton of people coming in, probably because they don't want to feel pressured to buy anything, which is fine. I
Mm.
understand.
Sure.
Like ideally, I would like to host more events there, like maybe a wine and paint or um, going back to
Those are always
classes
fun.
because there is an art scene here. Um, it's just hard to manage it with two small kids. Like they're
Yeah.
one's turning 4 tomorrow, and then the other one is turning 7 in the next month or so. So they're still very like, let's
You
do
got
all
to
these
keep an eye
things. I
on
have
them.
lots of
Yeah.
questions. And yeah, also, let's be safe. Let's not run near all these pieces of glass hanging on the wall,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
I mean, you've already had your wall fall once at a show.
Fallen
Luckily.
twice at shows. One was at an
Seriously? I
outdoor
already told
show
you how to
and the
fix that at
wind.
C2E2. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Get one
it
more
was
panel in
fine
there.
this year at C2E2. Last time is because my other backdrop fell on top of it, and then it fell at an outdoor art fest where
Oof.
the wind just blew everything over. Like
Yeah,
the
pro
booths
panels
were
and
like
wind don't
falling
mix.
apart. Mm-mm.
The only
Yeah.
so like that's what you and I were talking about at the show. You had that like U-shaped setup, and
Hmm.
you got to have that those straight edges because even well, I mean, if it's windy, you can't help it. That's
Hmm.
totally. I don't.
I
I
had
did
it zip
one
tied to
outdoor
the
show
tent,
once, and I
but
was
it
like,
didn't
never
matter.
again. No, I did an outdoor show once here in Chicago, and it's fucking windy here too. So, and I was just like, nope, not doing this ever again. It was hot, and then windy, and then chaos, and I was just like, I was at a point where I was just
Say
gonna just be like, everything's free, man. Just fucking take it, so I can go home. Like.
outdoor show in the place called the Windy City.
Yeah.
Well, y'all know that's
I
not
mean,
why it's
I
called
did
the Windy
mine
City.
and mine was in Indiana, but I mean, it
Yeah.
was still a windy day. It felt very Chicago-y.
Have you I mean, you
Yeah.
used to live here, you know what's up. So,
hmm
have you
Yeah, you
considered
live 5 minutes from my old house.
yeah, so apparently she used to live across the park before I moved here, and then she moved away. So it's like Mr.
hmm
Robin's neighborhood, you know. What's that bit from Saturday Night Live? Mr. Robinson's neighborhood. I'm just kidding, obviously. But she lived right down the street from my friend Greg, who still lives across the park, actually. So it'd have been fun.
It would have been fun. Our kids could have been friends.
I mean, they can still be friends. I'm sure we'll hang out at some point.
Well,
Um,
if we ever hang out full family.
so you said that like they'll never meet. What I was gonna say is, have you considered? I know you have to pay the rent there, so have you considered just turning it into a gallery with other artists, maybe like locals?
I have considered it. It's just more work,
Oh, it is work, yeah.
more time. Um,
Yeah, now you're not just being a salesperson for yourself;
yeah.
you're having to be a salesperson for others as well.
hmm Yeah,
Yeah, I
which I
mean,
mean, I think more people would come in if it wasn't just me. Um, but it's also like I think like half the time I'm not there when I probably should be, just because the kids will not. I just
right.
know that
I
it's not
mean,
going to go well. Because I'm the primary parent, so the girls
could
are always with me when they're not in school. So
you set up a little room for them in the back somewhere? No.
the basement's
Oh, just put up pro panel
not
walls.
great.
Be like, stay
But what
behind
if
those at
they?
all costs.
Yeah, they won't do that.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I'll stop coming up with solutions. I mean, you mentioned an idea of a making it half like a tattoo parlor.
hmm
Or I don't know what they
Yeah.
call them. They call them tattoo shops. I don't know why I call it a parlor.
hmm
Um,
Yeah.
and
Parlor, that's a thing.
That's a thing.
it
That's
is
a thing.
right. Okay, I'm not
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah, yeah,
hmm
I
you're
mean,
not
is your
crazy.
your
You
husband's
got it
still
right.
getting back into that? You said right, like
Yeah, I think we would just have to do a lot of work on the space to make sure that it's
sure.
up to code.
Oh, okay.
And we'd have to like, oh, we'd have to get all the permits and things like that, which is again more work that I don't feel like I have the time for at least.
Okay. Yeah, you have a lot of shows on the. I
So
saw you have a lot of shows on your list. You're like
yeah,
me
I
still.
do.
I was supposed to do less shows this
Yeah,
year, but I got like a show a month starting in May.
that's what my plan was, but then
Mine is October, then I'm
now it's
done. So
ACEN and MomoCon and then ACON, and they're all back to back to back. So trying to figure out
if
whether
I
I
get
should
into
drop one or
MomoCon, I'm
two.
sending my assistant to that. If I get
Mm,
into MomoCon, I'm sending. I'm actually doing Otakon too, and I'm sending an assistant. I'm trying my best to send my assistants to anything that
mm,
needs to be like. I don't really want to. I'm trying to do just the core shows that require the artists is there, and then sending
hmm
assistants to the rest of them because
Yeah.
like you, I got two kids here. I want to. We all have kids actually,
hmm
so
Yeah.
um, that is a subject we were going to talk about being parents and artists, and I guess you can kind of see it happening. So it is
Yeah.
It's
not
a
easy.
lot of planning.
It's a lot of
hmm
planning
A
is the best
lot
way
of
to yeah.
scheduling.
Yeah.
And
Not as
like we
good.
can't exactly like I know artists that like you can some artists bring their children to the shows. I can't manage. My kids are too young for that, man. They were
Mine
they're
too.
older. It's different. Like Tawny's daughter was with her at OhioCon. Sorry, Planet Comic Con, and
Mm,
but she's old enough to like just chill by herself too, right? So uh,
hmm
I can't let Violet go chill by herself. She'll go missing.
No.
So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
it
So
Esther's like
yeah,
almost there, but not yet.
right.
on that
Yeah.
point, like, are you having to be a night owl then to produce your artwork, or do you find other time during the day to produce it, like when they're at school or whatever?
When they're at school, I'll try to work as much as I can on the art. Um, but also like if I have a deadline, like if I have to finish a piece by a certain time, then I will be not night owl. But like kind of the older I'm getting, and like the more active the kids are, the less time or the
Yeah.
less energy I have to like stay up and do more stuff.
I mean,
Yeah.
Um,
I was good at for a minute about going to bed at like 10 and then getting up early and working, but it's really hard to
Hmm.
do now. So then I've been forcing myself to go to bed at midnight because some nights, like Andrew and I when we talked last week, we were up till like 1 o'clock, and then I was like,
I
I
was
should
gonna
go
say
to bed.
that's on me because I'm built on that right now, and I've
Yeah, yeah,
yet to be able
no.
to change it.
I mean, I could easily stay up to like 2 or 3 and just working, and then I'll function on like 5 hours of sleep. But there's a point in the middle of the day where it hits you, and you're just like, no one's gonna be like, go take a nap because
Yeah,
you
if I
can't.
oh god, if I was able to
Mm-mm.
work remote, I would definitely have like a 3 minute or three around like 3 p.m. Like just take like a 10-15 minute nap and be
I
good
mean,
for the rest of the day.
I messaged you guys earlier, and I was like, I'm fucking tired. I tried
Yeah,
5 times to lay down for like just 10 minutes, and it did not happen. Like every time I went down, and this is what happens when you have kids at home, right? Like, because like anytime I try to lay down, one kid needed something. I try to lay down, again, another kid needed something.
yeah.
I lay down again, my wife needed something, and I'm just like, guess I'm not taking a nap. Just gonna
So
coffee.
I would love to try and do like waking up early and working then or whatever.
It's
Like
actually nice because it's quiet. It's like working at night.
yeah,
That's what I like about working at night, right? Just
except you
everyone's
have like the
sleeping.
whole day ahead of you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nobody's gonna bother me.
Hmm.
It's silent, and when you want to work on your art, you need that like uninterrupted work, right? You need that
yeah.
like I know when I work, every time I get interrupted, I'm just like tweaked, and then it's hard for me to get back into the zone. So if I have that, between they're in bed by like 9, so it's quiet for the most part. But from midnight to like 2, it's super quiet. No one's bothering me. But when I woke up in the
Mhm.
morning, I was waking up at like 5 in the morning. They usually wake up around 7, so I had about 2 hours to myself. I make a cup of coffee and just get. But you have to like stay and that's motivated, right? You can't just be like, I'll check YouTube for a minute or
Yeah,
whatever.
don't like idle away.
Right. Because before, like, definitely don't open up TikTok. You're fucked if you do
Mm-mm.
that. Like, be like, 40 minutes has gone by. What have I been doing? Nothing. Um,
Mm.
so, but if you can wake up in the mornings, I find I guess it depends. Are you a night person or a morning person, right?
Yeah.
I think all of us are night
I'm usually a
owls.
morning person
Oh,
if
okay.
if
Stand
I had
corrected.
have the choice, but um I can't really wake up earlier because we have the creakiest floors and I will wake up the children and
Ah,
then
I have all the creeks
then they will be
memorized.
overtired. I do not. I
That's what
always
that's
hit
the
the
first thing you
creaks
should
and I
do.
don't know.
Like what?
I feel like
Like
they're always changing.
no, well, so when like Nancy will walk in the room and I'll be like, I had a teacher in our master room. I'd be like, step here, don't step there. I'm like, it's
You have it
stupid,
like
but
painted on the floor to show where to
well,
step.
it's an older house, so like there's a part this office where if I step on it, it'll creak in the hallway, and it's probably just a bunch of pieces connected, right? But the first time I moved in here, I kept getting these weird. I still get weird vibes at this house occasionally that everyone says it's haunted, and that didn't help because the door was open. It was 1 in the morning. I stepped on something and it creaked in there, and I was like, "What the hell was that?" You know. But I know for a fact when I walk down the stairs, I got to walk on the left side because the right side's super creaky. Little things like that help me um, ninja my way through the house at night. Because, like Sean said, like one kid hears it and they're like, "Oh, somebody's up. Time for me to get up
And
too."
they
And
get
you're
up
like,
and they
"No,
scamper and then yeah,
go away.
snowballs.
Go back to sleep. Leave me alone. Stop talking."
Yeah.
You know. Um, but yeah, time is managing that time because Andrew's got a full time job, and then Sean, you and I are both doing a bunch of shows, and then managing that time when we're at shows is difficult too. Like I have to like ask family for help. We're highly
Mhm.
considering. Like my wife wants to get a sitter, and I'm just like over here looking at the budget. Like I don't really want to hire somebody.
Mhm.
I don't
Yeah.
mind,
Ugh.
watching them during the day and working at night. I'm fine with that. But then you're not around at night. That's the other problem, right? And I don't want to.
Mhm. That's the hard part.
That's the hard part because I don't want to like when I grew up, my parents worked 2 jobs each. They were barely around. You know, I don't want to be that parent, but
Mhm.
also I want to make art, so it's a fine catch-22.
Mhm. Yeah, I've been
Hey,
thinking
Andrew,
about,
what's up?
trying to.
Hmm?
Oh, are you talking to
Andrew
other
commented in the
Andrew?
chat. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
Oh,
Hi, Andrew. Hi, Tawny. Hi, everybody. Um, yeah, I've been thinking about trying to hire a proxy. I've never done it before, but I mean,
Everyone I talk
it
to
would be
says
easier
it's
to
not
not
that
have
bad.
to. Yeah.
I don't know. I got friends who have like nannies and sitters, and they have jobs. They have to do that, and there's a period where you have to get used to them. Because my concern is like I don't want some random person I don't know watching my kid.
Hmm.
But also if they're in the house and I'm working in the house, it's whatever. But if they're like, "Hey, I'm gonna take the kid to the park," and I'd be like, "You gonna kidnap my child?" You know, like I have my brain goes the wrong way, right? It's like this is what they do for a living. You know, they're gonna take the kid to the park and come back. But I think it's hard as a parent to I don't know. Everyone I know says it's easy. It
like
gets easy.
see that control. No, it's like I think it's like yeah, you're basically trying to override your instincts.
Yeah. You
Hmm.
literally saying because you've been in your head, you're like, I don't want my kid going with some person I don't know the whole time, and now you have to be like,
Yeah.
this person's okay. So,
Hmm.
and I wish I could hire like Nancy's got a couple nieces. I thought about hiring one of her nieces to be like, hey, you want a day job? You ain't got nothing to do, but she doesn't want to hire family. I'm like, okay, whatever. Um,
I
but yeah,
just
let me know.
I just need to be Michael Keaton in Multiplicity and have like
You
three
saw
or
how
four
that
different
went.
versions of me. That's because they did a copy of a copy. That's when it went wrong. Keep it strict. Keep it to like
Keep it to the
people.
original.
You're
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Um, I lost my train of thought. So, okay, yeah. Well, anyone just tuned in, we're talking about being a parent and being an artist and trying to manage the business.
Hmm.
Feel free to ask questions or chime in if you've got any advice.
That is by far actually the business part of it is by far the hardest for me. Because it's like in addition like day job and then being a parent and then spending time with your significant other and everything. Because obviously you don't want to like just leave them high and dry as well. And then it's like cool. Now I got to make art. Oh, and then like at least for me, it's like at the very end of that is like I also got to do like the business part of it, like the self promotion and all that. And at that point, it's like, yeah, I don't have like gas in the tank for that.
Yeah, I mean, I considered hiring somebody when someone told me to hire a marketing team for that and let them. Then there's a cost.
There's a cost, yeah.
So
As I said it elsewhere, I am my cheapest source of labor, and I'm also my cheapest client. so,
Hmm.
so I'll work for peanuts, but I'm also going to be dead last in priorities for
yeah,
things.
Hmm. Yeah. Before I had kids, I was a nanny for a while. Um, and I mean, I did good nanny work. Um, I was very, active with the kids, no TV and stuff, but I
mhm,
also like I was paid well, like, at the time for like a college student. And now that I'm on the other end, I'm like, I don't have that budget and I
right.
don't want to pay somebody like garbage pay and make them hate their job and not be a good babysitter kind of thing.
That's
That's
the
fair too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem because Nancy was like, we can pay this low amount per hour, or you give them the higher amount so they treat your kid better, essentially, right? And I'm just
Hmm.
like, yeah, give them the higher amount, see if they want to work for that, right? I mean, we're talking like just 4 days a week, couple hours, not like not trying to hire like a butler or something to take care of everything, right? Just watch the kids a couple hours so I can work and stay on top of things. It's just. I mean, I guess key to some of your budgeting is figuring out what you want to do with that gallery first.
Hmm. Yeah. Either I gotta figure out how to keep the kids there with me more often and just be more disciplined in planning out the day so that I'm prepared and I don't get overwhelmed with that. Um,
I just gotta build like I'm telling
or
you, man, you
just
just
let
gotta
it
build a
go.
little corner like office for them. Or I'm not saying use pro panels because that's not the solution there.
That's not safe.
Uh, That was a
Al's
joke.
just suggesting
If the
setting up
wind knocks it
a
over,
kid's
children
pen.
will knock them
Children
over.
will definitely knock it over, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But just if you can get just some drywall, build a wall, and then be like, "This is your room. Have fun," and then make it nice for them. Like, you ever been? Well, you don't want to build like an apartment per se, because you're not gonna live there. You're just hanging out there for a couple hours, right? So
Yeah.
But yeah, and if you get other artists involved, I think that would be a way to split the rent. Or, I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to prevent you
I've
from
also
dumping
thought
it
about
wholly.
I've also thought about asking, like our convention circuit peers to be like, hey, do you want to throw some sketches my way and we could do a show? I just don't know how
It's not a
many
bad idea.
like larger spenders are in this area because it's not like a huge it's not like Chicago suburbs.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
It's tricky, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we're kind of in a like college town / small rural town. So there's a mix of people, but yeah.
I mean,
Though
like,
I will say on the opening night that I had, a lot of people came in. A lot of people traveled to come because they're kind and they're my friends. And I sold a good amount of stuff. Like a few originals went to new homes that night. I think it's probably just like I gotta schedule stuff, like events, and make things interesting and give people a reason to come in.
I mean, I think that
Yeah, like if it's regular enough, they kind of get into their mind, like, oh, what's happening at Sea Gallery? Yeah,
right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think your idea for the what do they call it? Like the
wine and paint.
Wine and painting.
Yeah.
Those always do well. I mean, you got to deal with some drunk people probably a little bit. But they make. I mean, my friends are. I have a friend that's what they do in the city. That's all they do, and they do pretty well. I don't know if you want to turn into that, but if you just did like one a month or two a month, it's a good date night thing, and it'll probably help pay the rent.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I have a few friends who want me to do it, so maybe I'll give it a try before we say.
Yeah, you could be like, "Hey, remember when you said you'd support this?"
Yeah.
So. Oh, so Allie was saying that she looks for places where they might do figure drawing. That might be something to look into too. That's a hard thing to find, even here in Chicago, right? There's only so many places where you can go do live figure drawing.
That was something that years ago, like before the pandemic and everything, that was something I was trying to look into because we had, like, especially here, for some reason, we have like very limited figure drawing options. And the one place here that does it regularly enough has changed their basically it's like you have to buy like a yearly membership to the school that it's hosted at. And on top of that, you pay the whatever the model fees are for that night. Yeah, which that's fine, paying the model fees. It's more just being like, okay, you're expecting me to pay like X amount of money per year just to have like basically like an open, not even like a guarantee to be into that figure drawing class that day or whatever. It's just like having the option to do it. And it's like, that's hard to justify. So I've been looking around to try and find another one. And there's other things too. Like I didn't like, for me personally, I didn't like their setup in terms of like their lighting and everything, because it was this like overhead multi-light thing. So there was like shadows every which way, not really great for like trying to do more like class kind of figure drawing, like classical figure drawing, where you have your single source of light and all that. But yeah, like trying to find a space just for that was really hard. Like I could not find a place that did it.
The Swope Art Museum, which is like right next to me, does one, I think, once a month or maybe every Saturday. I can't remember which.
I wonder if you can work with them on something.
I am actually giving a talk at the end of the week there.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
You should just be like, by the way, I have this gallery 4 doors down from you guys.
Yeah, well, that's how they found me.
Okay.
Oh, really? They were
Yeah,
like,
they
"Yeah, we always
we
see this place walking by."
yeah, it actually has nothing to do with the Kickstarter. This was scheduled like months ago. Um,
Well, you
so I'll
can
Your
probably
work
promote the
mention it.
Kickstarter there
or
too.
Yeah, I guess they didn't give me like a specific topic, so they're like just talk about whatever. You could do a demo or you could do like a combo of. So I'll probably just kind of give an overview of my artistic career and maybe do a little demo, but my process is really slow, you know, with
Hey
pencil.
man, my
So
process is slow too, but
you
you can
got to
take as
do
long as
the
you need.
you got to do the cooking show method. Like work a little bit on one, and then swap agains.
Yeah, there you
And he's
go.
like, "I we got
That's
this other
not a
one that's
bad
like a
idea.
few hours ahead."
That's not a bad
bring
idea.
the art folder oven with me. Yeah.
You
Hmm.
know what they said about Bob Ross? He did like 4 paintings per show. There was like the one he did as a practice. There was one that like before anything else. There was one he did as practice. There was one he did as basically that worked as his reference for when he painted the live one. And then he also had
Mhm.
one that he actually spent a little more time on. That was like the final shot one, and that's the one that usually got
Mhm.
sold.
Mm,
So yeah, you
Mhm.
just
that's interesting.
got to have your swappigans on everything. Be
I
like,
didn't
here, we're
know
just
Mhm.
gonna
that.
flip this back out because it's gonna take us a few hours to get to here, and I don't want to waste your time.
Mhm. Hmm.
Good luck getting that ready by next week.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Friday, I think.
Oh, it's this week. All right. Well, you got
Yeah.
4 days.
Mhm. It should be fine. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's not keep badgering her about her gallery. I want to get back to your Kickstarter now. You have 12 days left on your Kickstarter.
Mhm.
Are you let's see something. I see you have stretch goals, you have pins.
Yeah, I have pins. The first one is to help reorder the rabbit and the snake, I believe. And as we reach the stretch goals, you can choose one of them to be included for free in your apparel or like the print tier, backer tier. Um, and then the next one is to produce some new pins, which are the Year of the Rat and the Year of the Dragon, which I haven't released the artwork for that one yet. Um, I'm still finishing up the design for it. But it's basically going to be like a vertical piece that compositionally mirrors the snake, which
Okay.
I'm really excited about because
Yeah, I'm
dragons
excited
are
to see the
Oh, that'll be
awesome.
dragon.
great.
I
Yeah,
didn't
I love the
realize
look of
like
these enamel
the
pins.
specific years till so we were at C2E2. I talked to man, what's that Jack and Company called? BB Sama. And
Mm-hmm.
I ended up going with the Year of the Dog because they had I think it's a wolf, she said, right? And I was
Mm-hmm.
mine is a goat, apparently, I think. And I
Mm.
said, "When's that come out?" And she said 2027. And I was just like, "Yeah, you want me to wait till 2027 to buy a jacket, or you want me to buy one right now?" Like so they're doing I think they're doing kind of the same thing you're trying to do, but they're doing with just jackets, which I'm like, why not just cook them all out, man? But I guess it's like a level of respect, right, by doing it a year at a time. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of cool. Um, I feel like you can. The more I look at your stuff for the zodiac stuff, I feel like you can talk about a lot of the mythology. It's not myth; it's religion, right? No, what were they called? Zodiac
I think it's more
philosophy,
folklore,
folklore.
perhaps, maybe philosophy. Yeah. Um, I
Like I'm
kind of
learning
just
more
like it
about
because
zodiac stuff from
they're
from just
animals.
looking at your stuff, and then from like I don't know too many people doing this. Is what my point. So when I
Mm,
started looking at your stuff back at OhioCon is where I got a little more like knowledge of it. Like I never really went out of my way to learn about it, honestly. And then I was just like, oh, this is very interesting.
mm-hmm.
So and then to do it 1 year at a time is cool concept. So I mean, I hope you hit your goals, man. I mean, you already got your funding goals. So that's good.
Mm-hmm.
And I know
Yeah. Once
like the
I
last 3 days is when it kind of peaks again. So
Yeah, once I hit the funding goal, I kind of like relax a bit. I was posting every day and felt like I was just being annoying.
No, man,
But
you
now
gotta
it's like I'm gonna relax a little
You
bit.
can breathe a sigh of relief and all that.
Hmm.
you gotta post about it all over the place. It's the only way to. I mean, think
Yeah.
about in our now we have access to so much stuff, like versus a couple years back. I mean, Twitter unfortunately is a dumpster fire, so it doesn't help for promoting shit. So, um,
Yeah, I never figured out Twitter, to be honest.
I mean, when I did my
I still don't know how
Kickstarter,
it works.
my mailing it came from my mailing list, and then Twitter, and then Instagram. And unfortunately, the Twitter and Instagram now are just Instagram is just pay to play. So if you don't pay them, they're not going to push you up there with the algorithm. And Twitter is
Hmm.
just I don't know what
Yeah.
the hell's happening over there. So
It's all over the place.
it's just different every day.
Hmm.
Like last week, I logged in there and the Twitter logo's gone, and there's a fucking dog there, and I'm like, what the hell is happening here? Like
Hmm.
apparently that's his Digicoin logo.
Yeah, Dogecoin or
Yeah, so
whatever.
he's like, I want to put my own logo here. I'm like, you're an idiot. The product's called Twitter. Like put the Twitter logo for
Hmm.
the
It's not even his coin. It's just a coin that he finds funny as a meme,
yeah.
which is
So
ridiculous. But whatever. It's
I mean,
everything.
there's something new there every day, so it's like it's not reliable. I tell people build a mailing list. Your mailing list is going to be your like forefront. So like
Yeah.
from this
Hmm.
Kickstarter alone, you've got 65 backers. So I'm sure you got a bunch of new emails that you can add to your mailing list.
Yeah, I gotta be more active about the mailing list. I think for the Kickstarter, like on the launch, uh, I emailed probably for the first time in like 6 months or even more. So I actually got like 50 unsubscribes, but
Oof.
I'd also just added like probably 200 names to the
Oh
list that was
wow.
already there, and I never reached out because I just put it on the back of the priority list, which is probably
Yeah, man,
silly.
your mailing. I have a. I don't know where my list went. I've got about 100 people to add to my list. It's somewhere in this pile here, but
Yeah, I have like a page and a half that I have to add from C2E2
yeah.
still.
And that's the problem with, like I used to be able to use MailChimp digital on my iPad and people just typed it in and it's sent to MailChimp. But for some reason, once my iPad updated, it stopped.
Mm.
The MailChimp app no longer works on there. And
Hmm.
Oh
um,
really?
yeah, but so what I'm doing is I'm either going to create a Google form that people can fill out or um, you know what the thing is at the end of the day, people like to physically write their stuff down. So if you leave a clipboard out
Mhm.
and you say, "Hey, my mailing list is right there," they fill it out. I'm finding also I've been using you're doing the same thing at Show Sean where we put out QR codes, and when they
Mhm.
scan the QR code, it goes to a link tree. It's got all my
Mhm.
socials and my website, but the first link at the very top says sign up, and that goes to just a basic form on Squarespace. I'm sorry, that links to
Mm.
MailChimp, and it's in Squarespace, but it basically just says name, email, and it drops it right into MailChimp.
Hmm.
Assuming
I should do
someone's
that too.
Yeah.
going
Because
to
yeah,
do that
people will
step.
scan my code and well, right now the Kickstarter's at the top, but
Sure.
like I don't get any new followings. Well,
Yeah.
small amount, marginal amount, and no newsletter signups other than like on the clipboard. But I think people
Yeah.
who want to sign up use the clipboard.
The clipboard's the way to do
Um,
it. Hopefully, you just have to hope
mhm.
that their handwriting is legible.
Legible.
Because
Yeah.
Mhm.
you can
You
hand type it all in, right?
get like 5 to 10 mystery emails each
Yeah.
show.
Well,
Yeah.
our friend Kerm was telling me that you can use I can't remember what it's called. There's some app you can use that can just you could scan all that paperwork in, and then the app will detect the letters and convert it to.
Oh.
And I was like, how accurate is that? Like
Mhm.
how many emails am I losing by doing that versus because
Yeah.
like for the Kickstarter, I remember when I launched my Kickstarter, I had 350 emails I didn't type in. So I spent like a day just typing them all in before I started emailing about it because I was like, there's 350
Mhm.
potential customers, right?
Hmm.
Mhm.
So, and my list is growing. I'm probably gonna have to pay Mailchimp soon. When you hit 2,000, you have to pay to play.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'll tell you, the mailing list is the best. If you just email once a month, I usually lose one or two people every time I push a message out there because they forgot you exist. and I don't know why they signed up if they're just going to unsubscribe, but
Right.
that just happens. But yeah, you push once a month, just give them an update, and that's all you have to do. And then at the very bottom, I put the store, which I need to turn back on. So I better make a note of that. But let me think here. Is there anything we didn't ask you or talk about? Is she frozen?
I think the video is getting a little wobbly. Like it cut out for a moment and then it cut
I
back
did?
in, but it was no, she did. But
Oh.
it's like real staticky, and it see it cut back in now. But I don't think she's frozen, but I think the connection's getting a little dodgy.
Oh yeah. What is happening? Bear with us, folks. We'll be back in a second.
We might have to I was gonna say if once we get her back and stuff, we might have to wrap it up just to
Yeah.
make sure that she
we're
doesn't.
a little over.
See. Oh no! It I'm not hearing her on my end. I don't know about you.
She's saying she's got to go. I just saw her message. Shawn, I
Oh,
don't know if you
okay.
can hear us. But we'll just wrap it up. I think you're there. You are.
Oop.
Your video feed. I'm just gonna type it to her because I don't know if she can hear us or not.
Yeah. Okay. In that case, you can find her work at ShawnERussell.com. She has her Zodiac Kickstarter, or sorry, the Chinese Zodiac Kickstarter going on for another 12 days.
12 days, and if you want to search the Kickstarter, just type in Year of the Rabbit. It should be the first thing that comes up.
Yeah, and she has it on her Instagram as well, Shawn E. Russell as well, right there.
And I'll drop all the links at the bottom of this video once we take us offline here.
And then, Alan, where's the best way to find you?
Me, I'm under ancientones.net. Everything's there. All my socials are under AllenPanakal Art, except on TikTok because some dude's still squatting on it. So
right,
I'm gonna get that guy one day. On TikTok, I'm just AllenPanakal. And then your socials?
It's always A Sides Art. Find me anywhere using that.
Oh shit!
And that is my Instagram and everything. Okay. Not as active on Twitter, but okay.
She could hear us, and then her video died, and then her audio died. So sorry about that. Shawn's connection apparently started choking out. Maybe there's some wind in Indiana or something. But oh wait, maybe she's coming back.
Ooh.
Nope. Oh. Lied. That's just what's happening, guys. So our next guest is what's Connie's last name? Why can I forgot? Oh, I'm sorry, Connie.
Is that right?
I should have had this ready, and I didn't have it ready.
Hold on. Oh no, I just wrote it down. It's Connie.
Yeah, I guess I never learned her last name. I feel bad. But Connie's on Friday. I will make an announcement as soon as I'm done with this call. And I'm a very bad friend for not remembering her last name, but I guess I totally spaced on it right now. Sorry about that. But we do have another show on Friday. We'll be live at 7 p.m.
Not this Friday. It's on Monday.
Oh yes, it's Monday. I'm sorry, you're right. She said she didn't want to do Friday. She can do Monday. Yep. Oh, sorry, because you're not available on Friday. No worries. Good thing. Thanks for keeping me in check. All right, I'm gonna take us offline. I'm guessing Shawn is not coming back. So, thanks for everyone who watched. Thanks for everyone who asked questions and made comments. I appreciate all you guys. Give me a second here, Andrew.